collided with the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. Romanians began voting on second round of presidential elections rerun after last year's vote annulment. And in the Vatican City, the inaugural Mass of recently elected Pope Leo XIV took place. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In the United States, at least 2 people died after the Mexican Navy training ship Guatemala collided with the Brooklyn Bridge in New York. Authorities confirmed that the vessel had 277 people on board, 22 of whom were injured, 2 of them in critical condition, while 2 died due to serious injuries, and another 27 were transferred to receive treatment. The 2 deceased were crew members of the ship. It was learned that the accident took place at 9 p.m. local time on Saturday when 2 masts of the sailboat broke upon impact with the structures of the Brooklyn Bridge. Municipal emergency services acted quickly to attend to the situation and provide the affected people with the necessary medical assistance.
We were saying goodbye to all the guys who were leaving. The ship had already departed. A few seconds after it left the dock where it was, we suddenly saw all the lights, how they collided, hit the bridge, and they all fell underneath.
In Palestine, the number of people killed after a new Israeli airstrike on a refugee camp in the Gaza Strip rose to 36. According to local media, the dead and injured were transferred from Al-Mawasi area southwest of Khan Yunis to different hospitals in the area. Likewise, authorities reported scenes of chaos and despair as rescuers tried to pull the injured out of the rubble. The international community continues to press for a ceasefire while the humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian enclave worsens every day. Israel's military offensives have so far left more than 53,200 Palestinians dead and more than 120,600 wounded, according to the Gas and Health Ministry's balance sheet. In Israel, families of hostages in Gaza warned that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's policies threaten the lives of their relatives and demanded a comprehensive agreement with Hamas resistance movement to reach an end to the occupation. Israeli families demanded a global agreement that guarantees the release of the hostages and stops the Zionist aggression in the Gaza Strip. In a statement issued during the demonstration, the Families Committee expressed that Prime Minister Netanyahu is serving an extremist minority with the continuation of the occupation. Demonstration coincided with the ongoing negotiations in Doha aimed at finalizing a prisoner exchange deal and ending the genocide. And in other news, the United States government ordered on Sunday the withdrawal of the aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman from the Red Sea in the Middle East. The information was confirmed by U.S. military official who added that both the United States and Yemeni resistance movement Ansarullah continue to respect the ceasefire truce mediated by Oman. For his part, Ansarullah's senior leader, Mohammad al-Buhaiti, indicated that the ongoing operations against the Israeli regime are not subject to the ceasefire agreement. Prior to the agreement, Washington had considerably intensified its attacks against Yemen in an attempt to pressure it to halt the offensive against Tel Aviv. In our topics, in Iraq, the 34th annual summit of the Arab League concluded with the approval of a monetary fund for the restoration of the Gaza Strip. The meeting was attended by heads of states, presidents, and foreign ministers of Arab countries in the midst of a context marked by multiple crises and regional transformations. The Arab leaders called for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, establishment of an independent Palestinian state, and a unified approach to the challenges in the Middle East. In this regard, Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani announced the launching of the Arab Fund for the reconstruction of Gaza and Lebanon under the supervision of the Arab bloc.
We are announcing 18 ambitious initiatives to promote joint Arab action, the most important of which is the initiative to establish an Arab fund to support post-crisis, post-conflict, and post-war recovery and reconstruction efforts. We confirm here Iraq's contribution of $20 million for the reconstruction of Gaza and another $20 million for the reconstruction of brotherly Lebanon.
And now we have a short break coming up. First, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Argentina on Sunday, Buenos Aires residents are called to the polls for the 2025 legislative elections. Over 3 million people are expected to take part in the parliamentary elections in the autonomous city of Buenos Aires to renew the 30 of the 60 seats to the Buenos Aires legislature. Voting began at 8 a.m. local time and it will close at 6 p.m. According to the polls, the leading candidates are Leandro Santoro, representing the Es Ahora Buenos Aires party, or the Time is Now Buenos Aires, and current presidential spokesman Manuel Adorni for the ruling party La Libertad Avance. Romanians began voting Sunday in the second round of a presidential election rerun after last year's vote was annulled over allegations of election interference. The vote is expected to be a tight race between nationalist candidate George Simeon, who won the first round of voting on May 4th, and pro-European Union Bucharest Mayor Nicu Sordan. The country is of great geopolitical importance as it has several military bases that host foreign forces, especially those of the United States, the United Kingdom, and NATO. In addition to these bases, Romania has hosted a number of military exercises, joint trainings, and rotating deployments of troops and equipment. And in Poland, presidential elections advance amid tensions due to the conflict in Ukraine. At least 29 million voters are eligible to exercise their right to vote. 13 candidates are running for the head of state. The mayor of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, of the Tusk government coalition stands out with 30% support according to the polls, followed by ultra-conservative Karol Nawrocki with 25% of the vote. The polls will be extended until 9 p.m. local time, when the preliminary bulletin with the first results expected to be issued.
That he would cooperate, that he would be able to resolve disputes, that he would not divide Poles, that we are one common nation.
What do I want to do? For there to be peace and order, for them to set normal times, for the courts to be courts, for justice to be justice.
In South Korea, firefighters continue to battle a fire that broke out at a tire factory in Gwangju, 300 kilometers southeast of Seoul. According to authorities, the fire is 80% under control after the mobilization of 460 people and 170 vehicles in the region. The fire may have been started by hot rubber pressing equipment, and the high flammability of rubber and chemicals caused the fire to spread rapidly. As a result of the magnitude of the fire, 182 residents of an apartment adjacent to the factory were evacuated to a shelter at Gwangju Women's University. In response to this, local media share images where smoke plumes can be seen at various points in the factory. In the United States, authorities reported the death of at least 32 people in tornadoes that hit the south-central states of Missouri and Kentucky. According to local officials, the death toll includes at least 23 in Kentucky and 7 in Missouri, and is expected to continue to rise. The tornado that hit the southern end of Laurel County destroyed more than a dozen homes, leaving streets littered with debris, lumber, and personal belongings. 24 state highways were closed due to the disaster. The Director of Communications for Public Safety Services in the state warned that adverse weather conditions are forecast for Sunday night into Monday. The 22nd Huangjiaguan Great Wall Marathon in China took place on Saturday in Jizhou, Tianjin, on the outskirts of Beijing. 1,219 runners were taken into the historic structure where they needed to conquer 5,164 steps. Participants also passed through landscapes and villages of rural province of Tianjin. The runners traveled from all over the world to the event in China in order to combine vacation with adventure and running. In total, people from 52 nations participate in this 22nd Great Wall Marathon. The biggest group was from the US with 122 runners. The Huangjiaguan Great Wall Marathon started in 1999. The racing course included the Huangjiaguan section of the Great Wall and local villages.
It was absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. Everything was, it actually flew by. There was so much to see, and the people were amazing, and the scenery and the wall, and yeah, it just took my breath away.
Felt good in the beginning, made it up the wall, and then was just cruising on the flat, and then probably 2/3 through the race, legs started cramping up, and it was a bit more difficult from there, but pushed through, made it up the wall one more time, and here we are. Feeling okay right now.
I enjoyed the views and the downhill. The last peak was very, very tough. But we got there, and it's lovely to see so many different nationalities come together.
And 2 volumes of the over 2,300-year-old Sidanku silk manuscripts arrived at Beijing Capital International Airport after being returned by the Smithsonian's National Museum of Asian Art. The silk manuscripts, which consist of 3 volumes, were unearthed in 1942 from the Sidanku site in Changsha, central China's Hunan province, and were illegally taken to the United States in 1946. As the only known silk manuscripts from the Warring States period unearthed in China, the Sidanku silk manuscripts are the earliest silk text discovered to date, representing the earliest known example of classical Chinese book in the true sense. The returned volumes will be sent to the administration's Cultural Relics Warehouse after inspection and will meet the public in National Museum of China in July. We now have our second break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, you will be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final break, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Pope Leo XIV called for a united church against hatred and a system that marginalizes the poor and exploits the earth. The Catholic leader gave his message before thousands of faithful during the homily of his investiture Mass. Before more than 150 delegations from countries around the world and from other religions, as well as thousands of Catholic parishioners, Leo XIV received this Sunday the pallium and the fisherman's ring, symbols of papal power. During this ceremony, the new pontiff was visibly moved when the Philippine Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle placed the ring on his hand. Pope Leo XIV called for the construction of a church based on unity and communion.
Hermanos y hermanas, quisiera que este fuera nuestro primer gran deseo.
Brothers and sisters, I would like our greatest desire to be a united church as a sign of unity and communion, a starter for a reconciled world.
En nuestro tiempo vemos aún demasiada discordia, demasiadas heridas causadas por el odio.
In our time, we still see too much discord, too many wounds caused by hatred, violence, prejudice, by fear of what's different, by an economic paradigm that exploits the earth's resources and marginalizes the poor. And we want to be, within this Mass, a seed for unity, communion, and fraternity.
And in Venezuela, the candidates of the Great Patriotic Poll continued the electoral campaign for the regional and local elections on May 25th. During the campaign mobilization, several candidates of the Chavista forces urged the population to exercise their right to vote. besides reaffirming their commitment with the protection of the people. In a rally held in the Andean region, the Secretary General of the PSUV, Diosdado Cabello, warned about possible actions of the far right after the results of the elections of May 25th. The leader assured that the mobilizations in support of the candidates of the Great Patriotic Poll are the prelude to a great victory and must guarantee national peace and stability. Brazilian popular organizations met to build actions in support of Cuba in the face of the blockade imposed by the United States. At the 19th Paulista Convention of Solidarity with Cuba, political analysts, journalists, authorities of the Cuban consulate in Sao Paulo, and several social referents debated the new scenarios within the framework of Cuba's entry into the BRICS. It is important to mention that Cuba's entry into the bloc represents a great opportunity to combat the criminal actions of the United States. The event was held at the July 9th occupation. The space is an emblem of the social struggles of Sao Paulo, the largest city in the country.
We have been holding this event for many years in Sao Paulo. It is an important space of solidarity between peoples, an important space of political struggle, of consciousness, of ties between Brazil and Cuba, between their peoples mainly, and of the Cuban Revolution as an inspiration for the social struggles in Brazil. Bringing the Cuban Revolution to the social struggles in Brazil is to bring a greater socialist and deeper horizon of the Brazilian experience themselves. That is why these ties are of extreme importance. The entry of Cuba into the BRICS represents a respite for the Cuban economy, a great opportunity for Cuba to reverse the criminal blockades imposed by the United States. These are economic business opportunities that are opening up for Cuba so that Brazil, Russia, and China can have a greater impact on the Cuban economy, and Cuba can have access to more international markets that are currently blocked by the United States blockade. We have to fight for our rights and the rights of all, and thus strengthen ourselves as humanity as a greater cause.
Also in Brazil, the Barão de Itararé Center for Alternative Media Studies celebrated its 15th anniversary. It is considered one of the bastions in the front line of the struggle for the democratization of communication in the country from a popular perspective. The space for media studies is the axis of an articulation of social movements, trade unions, independent media, journalists, popular communicators, and diverse figures of the progressive field. Barão de Itararé's actions also include cooperation with regional media to break down the barriers between Brazil and the rest of Latin America and the Global South imposed by international media conglomerates.
The media system in Brazil is historically very similar to that of the rest of Latin America and the Caribbean. It is of few media concentrated in the hands of a few families. It is something almost hereditary. So we have this effort to democratize the media space in Brazil. And from our point of view, it is impossible to take this challenge without thinking regionally. These are common problems. We are looking for common solutions. We seek to fulfill four basic objectives: to participate in all the struggles for the democratization of communication in Brazil, be it of the traditional media, but currently under control, the regulation of big techs. Second, to strengthen all forms of community, counter-hegemonic alternative media in Brazil and the world by relating to each other, as is the beautiful relationship with teleSUR recently. Patricia Villegas was with us present. Third objective, to study the reality of the media and support the training of communicators. That is why this entity exists.
We are from the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on our social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.